Wouldn't it be nice to have several thought leaders in your industry know and love your brand? Start a podcast. Invite your industry's thought leaders to be guests on your show and start reaping the benefits of having a network full of industry influencers. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. We're here today with Tom Casano. He is the founder at Sure Oak, an SEO agency. Tom, how's it going today, man?
Good, Logan. I'm excited to be here.
All right. Well, thanks for jumping on the episode today. We're really excited to have you share an interesting idea that you brought up a week or so ago with me via email about kind of working the other side of Upwork. Before we jump into that, Tom, I would love to have you share with our audience what you and the team at Sure Oak are up to these days.
Yeah, we're an SEO agency, and we help clients get more traffic from Google and rank higher in the search engines.
Awesome. And how long has your agency been around, Tom?
Yeah, we've been doing this for about 4 or 5 years. And believe it or not, like we're going to discuss today, most of our clients have come from Upwork, and it's been really fun helping them get more traffic.
Awesome. Well, I knew it was a strategy you've employed. I didn't know necessarily that, it was accounting for most of your clients. So that's really interesting to me. So, for folks who aren't familiar with Upwork, I think that'll be a small percentage of our audience, but, give us a little bit of frame of reference of how people typically view Upwork and how you've approached it a little bit differently.
Yeah, so Upwork is an outsourcing platform, and in the past, I've used it for a long time for outsourcing work overseas, whether it's to India, or Philippines, $5 an hour kind of virtual assistant tasks. And I'd used it heavily doing that, and I don't know if it was like a light bulb moment, but then I decided to become a freelancer on the other side of the platform. So rather than looking to hire other people to do work for me, I became a freelancer on the other side of the platform to say, hey, I'm a freelancer, I'm doing work, hire me to do your work for you. And so Upwork, in my mind, I think in most people's minds, is that kind of platform for outsourcing, like very cheap kind of work. But there's the clients on there that have bigger budgets, bigger scopes of work to be done. And if we can sift through and find those clients or prospects, then we can find clients through that platform. So it's been pretty incredible, and I haven't expected it to work so well for my business.
Yeah. And I think that's, what typically comes to mind for sites like, Upwork or Fiverr. People think of, outsourcing very, very low cost, like you said, maybe $5 an hour sort of work, admin work, things like that. But you mentioned that you've actually closed deals, in the range of $10,000 a month or more, on using this strategy on Upwork. So tell us a little bit about, where you got started. What do you need to do if you want to try to work the other side to close deals for your agency and use Upwork, use the freelancer side for your agency? Where would you go about starting?
Yeah, for sure. And just to your point, it's true. I looked, it says through the Upwork platform in the last 12 months, I've closed $130,000 in deals, and that's through Upwork. And then, technically you can get, have contracts outside. We've done $10,000 a month contracts, $5,000, $3,000 a month contracts. So yeah, the place to really start is, and you can have the two sides of the platform connected. So, I'm a freelancer on there. If you're an agent, technically Sure Oak. So Sure Oak really is an agency, but I'm there as a freelancer. You can create a freelancer account. Yep. And so the first thing you basically is like create your profile. So it's kind of like you might think of LinkedIn or something. You put your picture on there, your name, your headline. You start writing out a description of what you do, and you got to think of it from a copywriting standpoint of why would somebody reading this be interested in you out of everyone else. So you want to flesh out all the details of the profile as you possibly can to try to optimize it, not only to be found in their search engine and their search results, but then also once someone hits your profile, that they're kind of intrigued or they're drawn in, you can add a video in there. And then over time, and take some time to get some momentum and get some visibility, but you have to start accepting maybe some smaller projects because you want to build up a score. You want to be a top-rated freelancer on there. You want a high job success score in the 90% plus kind of range, and you want to build up your reviews and that sort of thing. So does that help give you a good starting point?
Yeah, I think that's great. You touched on one thing there, Tom, that I wanted to ask a little bit more on. You mentioned doing a video. So it sounds like that's part of, your options in setting up a profile. What did you do there, or what do you recommend folks do in that portion of setting up their profile if they're going to go about this strategy?
Yeah, you want you really want to stand out from everyone else. So, I think for prospective clients here in the US, as someone who's born and raised in New York, and there's other people from around the world pitching you from a cultural standpoint, you can connect more with your prospective clients. So the more you have a good video of yourself and your face, and people can see you and people can feel and trust you. And I think I think it's true for other forms of marketing outside of Upwork as well. But the more you can feel like that real human being that they can trust and that can know and connect with them, that's important. And then there's, like I said, there's other areas in your profile. You can add your other experiences, and you can talk about, your portfolio of the other work you've done. Like if you're a web designer or whatever, you can have that in there as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, I think that's great advice. So starting with the profile and then thinking about, in order to get reviews, you have to start accepting some work through the platform. So thinking about, if that works for you, how do you start doing that? And then the next thing I know you wanted to touch on, Tom, was, how do you filter through to find job postings that could be a fit for your agency? Tell us a little bit about how you've approached that.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think the main challenge with Upwork is most of the work on there is mom and pop's little projects, like kind of like the Fiverr kind of thing, which we want to stay away from, right? So like I got $100 or I got a few $100, like we don't want those kinds of projects. So just like you said, in their platform, there's a way to filter the jobs, because I don't know the stats, but there must be ridiculous amounts of like postings of jobs going on there every single day. And so you want to set up, I believe they call it like a job feed. And you can set up the filters in here. So you want the jobs that they're looking for someone whose experience level is expert. So they have a $1 sign for entry level, a $2 sign for immediate, and a $3 sign for expert. And you want to find clients that maybe have hired someone in the past as well. And then it's a little hard to explain without actually seeing it. But if you were looking at the that job feed, you can basically try to find the clients that have spent a significantly more amount of money than others. So for instance, I'm just scrolling through here. There's one client that spent over $20,000 since they've been on the platform. There's another guy that spent over $10,000. And then I'm seeing one guy that spent like $200 or one guy spent $0. So basically you can start filtering by the client. Oh, look, I just found, here's one, some person in Malaysia has spent over $200,000 on Upwork. So, it would make a lot more sense to target the people that have really invested more heavily, because that's where the money's coming from, right?
Right. So it's a lot like, using LinkedIn Sales Navigator to hone in on, your prospective buyers that you're trying to target and engage with on LinkedIn. Sounds like you've got some filtering capabilities on people that you want to engage with and find the stuff that they're posting on Upwork as well.
Yeah, and the most beautiful thing about this is that it's very much, when you think of the sales funnel and there's people that are in awareness stage and decisions, consideration stage, these are people in decision stage. They're like, here's the job, here's the budget, I need to hire somebody. And that's the beautiful thing, because when I go to other forms of, if I'm doing like some outbound, or if I'm just kind of like trying to drum up some business in my network, like people there aren't like ready to buy. They're not like looking for my services, but here they were like really looking for it like now. And so that's a beautiful thing, because they're at the decision stage.
It's story time, and this growth story is about search engine marketing. Okay, so the story revolves around eSub, a project management SaaS company specifically for subcontractors. Even though eSub had incredible customer retention, they struggled with growth. Being a niche service, they discovered that there was little demand expressed for their solutions within search engines. To take on this challenge, eSub hired Directive Consulting, the B2B search marketing agency. After refining targeting, pre-qualifying clicks within ad copy, and developing custom landing pages, Directive was able to increase eSub's marketing qualified leads by 71%, while decreasing their cost per lead by 65%. I have a hunch that Directive can get these kind of results for you too. So head over to directiveconsulting.com and request a totally free custom proposal. That's directiveconsulting.com. All right, let's get back to this interview.
Yeah. So that brings up a really good point. And I think that's a perfect segue into this next thing you wanted to talk about, Tom, is, how do you pitch in this scenario? Because like you said, it's different than other conversations that you're having. These people are in buy now mode. It's more like someone who just clicked, on an AdWord campaign. They're actively searching, they're, soliciting proposals. They're, however you want to say it, they're looking for an answer to their problem right now. So tell us a little bit about, how you approach that given where the buyer's, mental state is when you're engaging with them.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So in an ideal world, you want someone to know your name or know your brand and come straight to you and be like, hey, Logan, I want you to do this service for me.
Right.
And that, right. But really on this platform, it's much more competitive. They'll show you some kind of estimates of the numbers. It's like, over 50 people applied for this thing. It's like, well, I'm not going to waste my time. If only 5 people applied and it looks pretty good, I'll apply because you have a little chance of standing out there. And so that's really the main thing, is to stand out, to build that credibility and trust. And there's going to be some people on there that are just, too cheap, or I will be honest, they're not the most ideal clients, but it's just those needles in the haystack. So what we want to do is filter down, like I said, try to find those guys that have the bigger budgets, and then using a proposal template. So in Upwork, they call it a proposal, and this is like your pitch or your applying for the job. And so I can read mine to you. But the main thing is really to personalize as much as possible. So even though you start with a template, if you can find their name through the reviews, you want to address it to them personally. Hi, Joe. You want to talk about, their pain points or their desires and really speak to that. And then I have the rest of it that's a little bit more templated. So you can learn about my expertise from these links below. And I'm sharing the things that I think can give the most credibility, or an interview with an influencer, things that should make me stand out. And even better is, if you create a 2-minute video of yourself speaking to them, to their job post. And, if you think it doesn't really take that long, you could take your iPhone or whatever and just shoot it and just even have it as a link you send over. It really speaks to them. You really stand out, because what everyone else does is they just paste in a template, or they have a terrible cover letter. Right. This is what it's called, a cover letter. And it's when they see, here's a real human being speaking to my needs, this guy who I can trust. Oh, he's in, I'm in New York City. So it's like, wow, there's, a few buildings in the background. It just adds all this credibility, where a lot of the other guys out there, it's like they're not doing that. They're overseas and they're in their mother's basement. It's like, they're not going to get those bigger deals. So you want to stand out in every possible way you can.
Yeah, I think that's a great example of, how you can personalize it and make it unique. If it's 1 in 50, then like you said, you might just pass because, it's probably not going to be the best opportunity. But, 1 in 5, if you're doing some of these things, you probably got a pretty good chance to stand out among the crowd. Any common theme you've been seeing, Tom, in, the type of buyers that are looking for projects here, why they're going to Upwork versus other places, or are they just finding this as another place to potentially, find a needle in a haystack themselves, find a vendor that maybe they didn't know about, and they're going there as well as other places. Tell me a little bit more about, maybe what you've learned about, the buyer personas that you've engaged with, at least on Upwork, I guess, for good and for bad.
Yeah, I think the first part is that people don't necessarily have a go-to place. Like if I'm trying to hire a conversion rate optimization specialist, where do I go? Okay, I can Google that. The other platform is clarity.fm, which I haven't found. It doesn't have as much activity and volume. So that's another place you could, get work from and get leads and build relationships. But it's just that, where do you go? You're looking to hire. And if someone has been using a platform like this in the past, then it's okay, it's there, and you're looking for someone to do some programming for you, and you can go to Upwork and find a programmer versus I don't know where people go. Do they Google it? Do they ask around? But maybe they don't have any traction that way. And then in terms of the personas, it's all over the map. So really, it's for me and for people looking to do this and find the biggest, best, highest paying clients. It's a matter of filtering of, there's the people that have very small budgets. There's the people that have high expectations and they're just shopping around and they see your service as like a commodity. So you need to avoid those. And then, you want to find, it's a no-brainer. The bigger clients that have the bigger budgets, and sometimes in the job posting they might put their name, or you might be able to figure out how to find them on LinkedIn and start building a relationship. And the whole purpose of this proposal of this pitching and applying to the job is to set up a phone call. Because once you get on the phone, as you know, Logan, then you can really start to build a relationship, build some rapport, understand their needs. You can't really do this so well over like messaging on a platform. You could start to try to get things going and get some sparks of interest there, but like you really need to set up that call, and now you're going into more of your consultative sales process to understand their pains, and then walking through how you're going to help solve their problems and those sorts of things.
Yep, definitely. So obviously this has been a big part of your growth strategy for your agency, Tom. So the last thing I wanted to have you share with the audience was how you've scaled this. Tell us a little bit about some of the ways that you've kind of optimized using this without spending a ton of time, but taking advantage of, like you said, the good nuggets that are there to be found using this strategy on the Upwork platform.
Yeah. So one of the big things is getting really good reviews. So making sure that, do like over delivering for clients so that they're super happy and asking them for a good review. And again, just continuing to optimize your profile as much as you can. And then the process of being kind of relentless isn't the right word, but just very consistent and very systematic about, every single day going in there, filtering, finding the top jobs and applying to the ones that are written by people that sound like they're the best fit for you. They're educated, they're smart and thoughtful versus they just, spent like 30 seconds and put a job posting in all lowercase letters. You know what I mean? You could really feel out those. And so having that systematic process of getting in there every day, or if you have a virtual assistant or someone to help do it for you, it's going to take a lot of the heavy lifting off your back. So I do that as well. So I have someone on my team that's helping kind of sift through all these things, putting out those proposals. And it's just like anything, whether it's outbound sales or whatever, it's just continuous systematic grinding away. And then you eventually start to find some of those gems in there. And then, then with your best opportunities, again, in sales, it's like anything else. You follow up, you get on that phone call, feel out interest, go through a proposal process or do whatever you have to do in your sales process to bring that into a paying client.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Tom, this has been very interesting. I think you've brought some new ideas to the audience. If anybody listening to this would like to follow up with you, reach out with any follow-up questions, or just stay connected with you, what's the best way for them to go about doing that, man?
Yeah, just like you, Logan, I'm all over social media and the web. So you can find me on LinkedIn. You could go to our website, shoreoak.com or tomcasano.com. You can Google my name and find me just about anywhere, or Shore Oak is the name of our agency. And I'm more than happy to help anyone. If anyone has questions or needs some help in doing this, I'm more than happy to help, because it's a great opportunity. And I'm not like a spokesman for Upwork, but it's just the fact that man, there's all these opportunities sitting out there. Like you've got to, take advantage of them.
Yeah. I love how you've found a way to make it work for your agency, and I appreciate you sharing the strategy with our audience. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah, thanks so much, Logan. It's been a pleasure.
Becoming a thought leader doesn't just happen. If you want to build a strong personal brand and extend your reach online and offline, you need a plan. Want help developing yours? Check out Impact Summit. This one-day event is bringing together best-selling authors, professional athletes, influential CEOs, and emerging entrepreneurs, all for one purpose: to equip you to lead, influence, and inspire. Whether you're looking to build a lasting legacy with your business or extend the reach of your brand, Impact Summit speakers will share inspiring stories and practical lessons to help you on your way. Did we mention a session on launching and growing a podcast? You guessed it. You'll hear from Sweetfish Media's own James Carberry during that session. You won't want to miss all of these influencers and leaders coming together in Salt Lake City on October 13th. Ready to learn more? Check out influencerinc.co/Impact Summit. B2B Growth listeners can get 15% off the price of their tickets for this event by using the promo code SWEETFISH. SWEETFISH. So use that code, get your tickets today, and get ready to grow your brand and your influence at Impact Summit 2018.